Tonight, with the Middle East on the brink of all-out war,
the regime in Iran does not understand our determination to defend ourselves and our determination to retaliate against our enemies.
The world awaits Israel's response to Iran's latest missile attack. Plus, from cordial...
I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality here.
Governor, I agree with you.
...to contentious.
That is a damning non-answer.
Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine.
A recap of the one and only vice presidential debate. And help and hope for victims still reeling from Helene's receding floodwaters. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Intense battles underway tonight between Israeli forces and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder.
And from the studio of CBN's Washington News Bureau, I'm John Jessup. Well, a deadly day of clashes as Israel sends more troops deeper into Lebanese territory. The Jewish state lost 8 soldiers during close combat fighting.
Now the IDF takes on Hezbollah to the north and Hamas to the south. The region remains on edge and is watching and waiting to see how Israel responds to Tuesday's missile attack from Iran.
CBN senior international correspondent George Thomas has been monitoring the situation from CBN's headquarters in Virginia Beach. George, what comes next?
John and Jenna, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is weighing a military response, but one thing he has made very clear, Israel will retaliate. Netanyahu called Iran's decision to fire around 180 rockets a, quote, big mistake, and that Iran will pay for it. Any escalation could threaten to spark full-on regional war. On today's 700 Club, former IDF spokesman Jonathan Conricus said Israel's response will factor in a few things. Take a listen.
I think that we will see a different Israeli response. It will be much more powerful and much more impactful. It depends, in my mind, on 2 different issues. One, what will the strategic aim be? What will Israel want to achieve strategically in the long term? And 2, what kind of support will Israel get from the United States of America?
And to that point, today President Biden said he would not support Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites.
So, George, Iran has threatened that if Israel responds to its missile launch from Tuesday, it will attack again. What do you think those attacks would look like?
Look, John, for the last 45 years, Iran has been preparing for this moment. Israel has also equally been preparing for this existential threat that it has faced. Back in April, Iran threw their best at Israel, 300 cruise missiles, drones, ballistic missiles. It ended up hurting 1 person. This week, we saw Iran launch about 180 ballistic missiles against their very best, and it ended up killing an Israeli Arab in the West Bank. Look, the challenge that they have, that the regime in Tehran has, is that they are throwing their best at Israel, and it doesn't seem to be deterring the Jewish state. And so, yeah, the last assessment was that Iran has about 3,000 ballistic missiles. This was an assessment back in 2021. They clearly don't want to throw all of that at Israel right now in case they go on, end up in a full-scale war with the Israelis. Again, we'll see what kind of response Israel has in the next couple of days, maybe in the next couple of weeks.
All right. Senior international correspondent George Thomas. George, thank you.
Welcome.
Brad Bowman joins us now. He is the senior director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Brad, welcome. So Iran threatening a larger attack. Meanwhile, Israel is striking Iranian proxies in Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. Would it be fair to say that we're already in a regional war? And where do you see this going, Brad?
Yes, I think we are in a regional war. On October 7th, let's remember, we had the largest murder of Jews, a single-day murder of Jews since the Holocaust. And then on the very next day, October 8th, Hezbollah, the varsity terror organization in Lebanon on Israel's north, started attacking Israel in almost daily attacks. And those attacks increased in intensity and frequency over time. And for years, Israel has said to the United Nations and to the so-called international community that Hezbollah needed to stop its attacks and needed to pull back north of the Litani River, and that the United Nations needed to enforce UN Security Council Resolution 1701. And the UN blew off those pleas. And now Israel has no choice but to try to push Hezbollah back and destroy its presence in south of the Litani River. That's going to be easier said than done. But when you have a country roughly the size of New Jersey, and you have more than 60,000 Israeli citizens that have had to flee their home, what choice is there? You know, Israel's confronting a 7-front attacks from 7 different fronts. And so we have the Biden administration that has sent an extraordinary amount of combat power to the Middle East, but is also spending more time trying to constrain Israel rather than supporting Israel as Israel takes the fight to our common adversaries.
Brad, you were just saying Israel has no choice. So what factors do you think Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is weighing as he considers retaliation options? And let's not forget, we're in the middle of a race for the White House. How might the presidential election here in the United States play into that decision?
Yeah, I think the Biden administration has, on one hand, implemented the second most impressive security assistance campaign in recent years in terms of the number and quantity of weapons it has sent Israel, but it also has deliberately delayed some weapons and slow-rolled many others. And this is a serious problem. When your best friend is experiencing their worst day, you don't join the terrorists and start kicking your friend. You get your friend what they need. Let's remember, Israel is bringing justice to terrorists, Hezbollah terrorist leaders who have the blood of hundreds of Americans on their hands. Fuad Shukr, whom Israel killed, was a Hezbollah senior military commander who had played a central role, according to the U.S. government, in the 1983 bombing that killed 241 U.S. military personnel. So when your friend does that, you don't criticize them, you don't call for a ceasefire, you don't issue public criticism condemnations, you say thank you, and you give them the means to continue what they're doing.
All right, Brad Bowman with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for being here, Brad.
Thank you.
Election 2024, the vice presidential candidates took the debate stage in New York last night. Republican J.D. Vance and Democrat Tim Walz kept it cordial as they each made the case for their presidential candidate. CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody, reports.
What was billed as an open mic brawl turned instead into a relatively respectful and thoughtful debate. Tim Walz appeared to have opening jitters and misspoke when asked about the current situation between Iran and Israel.
Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental.
Eventually, he got around to blaming the former president for the current mess in the Middle East.
So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership.
J.D. Vance turned it around to the ones now in charge.
And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration.
On Americans' #1 issue, the economy, Walz again went retro, pointing to Trump's record as president.
He gave the tax cuts that predominantly went to the top class. What happened there was an $8 trillion increase in the national debt, the largest ever.
Vance quickly responded with a comeback about how people are suffering today.
Honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record.
One of the more animated exchanges came on the abortion issue when Vance challenged Walz on a controversial bill that he championed just last year.
The statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is, I think, whether you're pro-choice or pro-abortion, that is fundamentally barbaric. And
Vance was on his game all night long. As for Walz, he ran into trouble by misspeaking when asked about changing his position on gun control. He said he became friends with school shooters.
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters.
And he also got called out online about saying he was in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests back in 1989 when he wasn't.
But I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric.
Walz did try and end strong, bringing up the contested 2020 election in order to paint Trump and Vance as a threat to democracy.
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
As for answers as to who might win this upcoming presidential election, however, tonight's VP debate didn't seem to settle anything at all. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
All right, thank you, David. Well, fresh off the debate stage, the running mates for both of the White House hopefuls hit the road today, back on the campaign grind in crucial battleground states. Governor Walz kicked off a bus tour in the Keystone State, speaking alongside Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. Senator Vance traveled to Michigan to talk about the economy and lowering health care costs. Well, with the campaign in full gear, Vice President Harris was in Georgia today discussing Helene recovery efforts, while President Biden was in North Carolina doing the same. The storm-damaged states are two key ones this election cycle. And new polling from Quinnipiac shows Donald Trump and Kamala Harris neck and neck in the swing states. In Georgia, the former president has a slight advantage, 50% compared to 44%, while in North Carolina, he holds a 2-point lead over the vice president. Well, here with us now for more is Faith Nation contributor and the editor and publisher of Inside Elections, Mr. Nathan Gonzalez. Nathan, welcome to you. So the average of polls taken late last night after the debate shows a split among viewers. 48% of debate watchers say Vance outperformed Walz, while 46% rank Walz the winner. Nathan, where do you stand?
Those polls sound a lot like the polls overall, right? It sounds like the polls you were talking about in the swing states. It looks a lot like the national polls. I don't believe. I start from the default position that this debate did not change a lot of minds. It did not change the overall structure of the debate, that this is a close contest. I'm not sure. It's going to take a few days to know how many swing voters in the 7 key states that matter, how many of them watched the full debate and see if their minds were changed. But I think that this is probably, we're just continuing on the same path of this is going to be a close race until the end.
You know, Nathan, you kind of touched on this, but how much does last night's debate actually matter? And you know, does it move the needle at all? You say probably not, but in the margins, like, for example, did Vance win a little bit maybe with women voters, or did Walz win a little bit with male voters? I mean, just ever so slightly that could make a difference.
Yeah, and this, you're right that only a small difference can have a big impact. But a couple things stuck out to me. One of them was that Vance, I think, delivered the type of performance that Harris delivered on September 10th against Trump. I know that sounds weird because they're two different parties, but Harris delivered the type of performance against Trump that Democrats hoped that Biden had done against Trump earlier in June, when Biden totally botched that first debate. But last night, Vance delivered the type of performance that I think a lot of Republicans wish Trump had done against Harris, right? That Vance was on message. He was defending the Trump administration. He was on the attack against Harris. And I think Republicans kind of breathe a little sigh of relief and say, okay, that's what we like to see in a debate performance. But what was also striking is Vance intentionally elevating Harris. You know, he made her out to be the most consequential and influential vice president in the history of the country, and that her decisions are in charge of everything. And the reason why he did that is because he wants to hold her responsible for the problems that are facing the country today, when in actuality, I don't think the vice president holds that sort of power, this vice president or previous vice presidents. But as a campaign strategy, it was very intentional by Senator Vance, and I think that's the right decision to try to go on the Republican side.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Nathan Gonzalez with a lot of insights from last night's debate. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Up next, catastrophic flooding from Hurricane Helene devastates North Carolina, and the rescue for survivors and delivering aid when Faith Nation continues. Welcome back. Search and rescue efforts continue in the southeast tonight, 6 days after Hurricane Helene caused historic flooding across the region.
Yeah, it's become the second deadliest storm this century, with more than 160 people killed and still hundreds missing. Sheer devastation in the lower Appalachian Mountains, leaving entire communities decimated by Hurricane Helene. The death toll still climbing and hundreds still missing, including John Norwood's fiance.
We looked outside and there was a 30-foot tall wall of water and rocks and tree debris just coming at us, and it knocked the house straight down with all of us in it. She went one way and I went the other. Last thing I said to her was, "I love you." And that was the last time I saw her.
Their entire neighborhood in Marion, North Carolina, wiped out. John rescued on the stretcher, his legs crushed. They're still looking for Julie.
She is loved by so many. She's so strong.
Lauren Meidinger says they're still searching for her mother-in-law.
She's taken on children that aren't hers, and she's just the strongest woman I know, so it's hard not to hold on to that hope. I pray every day, every second that she's found and she's safe.
Helene hit Florida's Gulf Coast last week as a Category 4 hurricane, moving through Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee. Days later, many remain stranded without power, cell service, or running water. Patricia Miranda is using creek water to flush her toilets and wash clothes.
We don't have nowhere to go.
President Biden has ordered 1,000 troops to the region, and CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground in western North Carolina, passing out hygiene kits, food boxes, and supplies.
We just want to ask you to keep our team in your prayers and keep the people of North Carolina in your prayers. They really desperately need it right now.
Hurricane Helene is now the deadliest hurricane to hit the United States in 20 years, topped only by Hurricane Katrina in 2005. And the death toll is expected to keep going up as rescuers reach more communities cut off by this unprecedented flooding. And if you would like to help victims of Helene, Operation Blessing is a great way to do that. Please visit opie.org.
Coming up, a CBN News exclusive with Laura Trump. What she says about the Trump campaign's strategy in the final countdown to Election Day. Welcome back. With just about a month to go, Jenna, can you believe it, to the election?
I know, what, 34 days, something like that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Both candidates are giving it their all to get their bases to the polls.
CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody spoke with RNC co-chair Laura Trump about the former president's strategy and why his family is taking center stage.
Grandpa Trump, if you will. We've seen those videos. We saw the latest campaign ad just in the last week or so, but we've seen more of the family and the grandkids there, and of course he is grandfather to your two children. What is take us a little bit inside? I don't want to say the strategy, because it is who he is. I got that, but the humanizing of Donald Trump, a side that many people do not see, you see all the time. It's got to be very frustrating to you. But my guess is he's probably looking at that going, "Oh, please, no, I don't want." I could just see him saying, "No, stop with that. I'm the hardcore guy." He's got the persona and the truth behind that. But tell me a little bit about that. I don't want to call it a campaign of sorts, but it's kind of there's been more of it recently, and yeah. I think it could work. It could work.
Well, it's funny because this is the man that I've always known, and it's the man I've always wanted other people to see. But to your point, David, Donald Trump has always kind of been like, you know what? I don't know if that's a side of me that I really want to showcase out there. I think, first of all, he doesn't ever want people to think that, it's disingenuous in any way, or that he's using his family or, his grandchildren in any way as a prop, because of course he would never do that. But I also think he's considering what kind of president he needs to be when he gets back in that Oval Office. And the truth is, we've got a lot of tough battles ahead of this country. You need a very strong and a very stern person at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to deal with the Ayatollah in Iran, to deal with Kim Jong-un of North Korea, Xi Jinping of China, Vladimir Putin in Russia. Donald Trump never wants to seem, I guess, too soft, and I get why he probably has felt the way he has for a long time. But as his daughter-in-law and now as co-chair of the RNC, I can tell you that I love showing this side of him because it really is who Donald Trump is. Whenever, whenever our family gets together, whenever my kids are around him, it's all natural. You don't have to manufacture anything. As you probably know, David, you can try to tell a 5 and a 7-year-old what to do. They're going to do whatever it is they want. So when they got up on stage with him last week in my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina, and both had little things to say with Grandpa, that was something that they really wanted to do. They were very excited to do that. But I hope people remember at the end of the day that Donald Trump, as vilified as he's been, as demonized as the mainstream media has tried to make him, this is a human being. This is a father. This is a grandfather. And I can tell you that this man has a heart of gold. There is no other person who I know would be putting his life on the line, literally, for this country if he didn't believe he could do the job necessary. And he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for his grandkids. He's doing it for your kids, for your grandkids, and for generations to come, because he wants this country to remain strong and great and the America that we've always known and loved in perpetuity. And so I hope people get to see more of that side of him. Even if he doesn't know, sometimes I take little videos and I put them out there, and he'll see them later and he'll say, like, oh, that was very good. I'm glad you did that. But sometimes he has no idea that I do it, and that's okay with me.
Something I just learned there, secret family recordings. Thanks, David. Well, in other news, more potential charges against the leader of America's largest city. Mayor Eric Adams appeared in court today after he was accused of taking bribes and illegal campaign contributions. Federal prosecutors say it's likely that more defendants will be charged in the case. Adams denies all allegations and refuses calls to resign. No trial date as of yet.
Still ahead, meet the newest member of the Faith Nation family. Stay tuned. And finally tonight, Faith Nation has a new family member.
That is right. Our very own Caitlin Burke and her husband Brian recently welcomed their second child. We'd like to introduce you to Wesley Bennett. He just couldn't wait to meet his family and decided to come a few weeks early, September 26, weighing in at 7 pounds and 8 ounces. Look at all three of them there. Mom, Dad, and big sister Eleanor are all doing well and soaking up the time with their newest addition. I know that even though little baby Wesley was a little impatient, Caitlin didn't mind. She was ready to have that baby.
She was ready. Yeah. She was ready. And yeah, he was a few weeks early.
Yep.
And I mean, he was 7 pounds, 8 ounces.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty big for being a few weeks early.
So it was you, Abby, and now Caitlin. Congratulations.
Yeah, there's something in the water around here.
Thanks so much for watching.
Have a great night.